Welcome, everybody. My name is Peter McMullin, and it's my honour to be the President of the Confederation of Asia Pacific Chambers of Commerce and Industry, otherwise known as CACCI. And it's my pleasure to join on the panel this evening Clement Teo, the Chief Sustainability Officer of the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, and of course my old friend Lennon Tan, President of the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, and also Vice President of CACCI, Vice President Sustainability of CACCI, which is a very topical role given the discussion tonight. It was my pleasure in January to be in Singapore to launch this initiative together with Lennon and Clement, and it fits very neatly with my agenda as President of the SET agenda, we call it, the Sustainability, Entrepreneurship and Trade, which is helping business get set for the future. And this is a very important role for chambers, both in our region and globally. And so the SET agenda is very much focusing tonight on the sustainability arm of the SET. So it's my very great pleasure to welcome you all here and to hope that you can join us in Singapore in November for our annual conference, where these matters will be discussed in greater detail with a broad variety of excellent speakers and participants. And also to tuck in your diary for the World Chambers Federation, which will be held in Melbourne in September 25. That's 2025, September 2025, the World Chambers Federation, which will be in Melbourne. So we hope to see you at that in next year. But without further ado, it's my very great pleasure to welcome Lennon Tan, who we have been working closely on this project for a little while now and hope to continue to do so for a long time to come. So Lennon, over to you, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Peter McMullin, for the introduction. I want to greet my fellow CACCI members. A very good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. Just a quick introduction again. My name is Lennon Tan, and I'm currently the President for Singapore Manufacturing Federation, as well as the Vice President of CACCI, taking care of sustainability. It's my pleasure to address you today. Today, I think we very much share the commitment to sustainability for the future of businesses. And in January this year, the Green Alliance initiative that was launched together with President Peter was launched on 19th of January in Singapore. This initiative that we fondly call Asia Pacific Green Alliance, right? So, of course, today we're going to talk about what is this initiative about, and we hope that every one of CACCI member can be part of this alliance, that we share the best practices, develop standards, we will offer you support and work towards a net zero goal. Now, I'm very happy to see so many of you attending today, and your presence actually shows commitment and interest in starting your own sustainability journey with your members and with CACCI. Well, maybe I share a little bit about what we do as a role and vision for SMF. We lead Singapore manufacturers, and our initiative today is really towards Industry 5.0. Now, a lot of people say, what's 5.0? What's different from 4.0? Well, Industry 5.0 is defined in Europe to be really, if I can put it simply, is really putting sustainability in the center while we do digitalization and automation and having people right in the center of that design. And we definitely see that the trend is shifting towards for our members to be sustainable in this fast-paced global market, right? And we acknowledge that many companies, many SMEs especially, face a lot of challenges in their sustainability journey. And often there are very limited resources. And the most common question that we've got in SMF is, how do I start my journey? What do I do, right? So today, I hope that later on, our Chief Sustainability Officer, Mr. Clement Teo, can shed some light into this, right? Clement will discuss the Green Alliance initiatives. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but just very quickly, over here, we have initiatives such as Chief Sustainability Officer as a service to members or to companies. And then we have certification programs such as Green Excellence Manufacturing or Green Excellence Business Recognition Mark. And most importantly, we will be discussing how it is also relevant for CACCI members, especially we are all trade associations, by helping our own members on the journey, and yet it is a sustainable proposition to trade associations such as us offering such services. Now, so we will emphasize the importance of this Green Alliance in terms of how we can collaborate, learn best practices from each other, and then we will provide you with tools and guide you on how to work with our members' companies to be successful in a greener world. Well, I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that we can have a productive and inspiring session. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clement Teo. I'm representing the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, and I am the Chief Sustainability Officer. And my role in Singapore is to actually help manufacturing companies as well as businesses related to the manufacturing industries to really, overcome the inertia and embark on the sustainability transformation. So here in Singapore, we all know that the word sustainability is a very big topic. What we have done in Singapore here is really to first focus on the environmental aspects, and then later on to move into the social and the governance aspects. So when we curate our solution, which I will share later, it is really to start companies off by addressing climate change. As we know today, climate change has caused really drastic droughts and floods, and I think it has really ended up the world upside down in some way or another. So therefore, we will start off with sharing of the initiatives first, focusing on the environment sustainability. So maybe let me load up the presentation now. Here we have this topic on helping SMEs, small and medium enterprises across the Asia Pacific, to learn how to actually transform and to embark on sustainability initiatives. What we have here actually is to really address the urgent need of climate change. And I'm using a few examples in the Singapore context that, we have already carbon tax that is in place. Anyway, our energy consumption is going to increase very drastically, and it is an impetus for companies to start looking at their own cost of consumption in terms of energy. The other one is actually on resources. We'll be using a lot of materials, and how are we going to address all these resources in terms of the end of life? So we have to look at the electrical and waste management. We have to look at packaging waste management as well as food waste management. Another one that is really upcoming very soon is that when it comes to the customer context, a lot of our companies or SMEs here are actually suppliers to the listed issuers as well as MNCs in Singapore. So our Singapore Exchange has actually came out with a rule to say that there's a mandatory climate reporting that is set to start 2025 onwards. And so therefore, for suppliers who are actually supporting the MNCs or listed companies, they would likely need to embark on the reporting of their scope 1 and 2 carbon emission. So therefore, this program is also curated in such a way to bring on the necessary tools to help SMEs to embark on these transformation exercises. Of course, on a positive note, when we look at the speeches from our minister, Prime Minister now Lawrence Wong, is actually helping us to emphasize that companies can actually gain competitive edge by embracing on sustainability. Now, while we hear all about the challenges or the impetus for change in terms of climate change, one of the things that we need to address is actually on the needs of the SMEs. So we have actually done a lot of focus group discussions and surveys, and we really hear from the SMEs on what they are facing right now. And as what Lennon has shared earlier, in fact, a lot of them do not have the resources to embark on this transformation. A lot of them lack the expertise. They perceive sustainability as a high cost endeavor. And of course, their time is often more focused on their business survival. And therefore, there are a lot of unwillingness around and transforming their companies to be more sustainable. So these are the pain points that the SMEs have actually brought up to us. And from our side, we've listened to them, and we actually came out with a solution with the guidance from the industry experts and even from our council members and together with other TAC's leaders to say that let's curate a solution that is cost effective, that is scalable, and that can be, that can help the SMEs proceed with their sustainability transformation with a very low entry barrier. And based on earlier pain point, a lot of them do not have the dedicated resources. So therefore, we are actually building up this program called the Chief Sustainability Officer as a Service to behave and operate like the Chief Sustainability Officer of the SME, and then to help them to transfer the knowledge necessarily for them to, continue their business in a sustainable way. So here's how we are going to do it. In fact, we are bringing together a very structured framework, a system in place, as well as the necessary tools like an online gap assessment tool, as well as the carbon accounting tool, to curate it together as a package to help SMEs onboard this journey. And it is going through a PDCA approach, and we do it in a structured manner through advisory, first to let them know how to plan out their sustainability strategies, and then how to embark on it, how to implement the necessary sustainability solutions, and then bringing on independent assessors to come in and do an independent assessment for them. And then from there on, where they are known to have their gaps, it is actually an opportunity for them to improve on their system and to embark on this as a continuous journey. So at the end of the day, what we want to do is through this program to guide companies on their sustainability transformation, help them overcome the inertia, and then support those who really lack the resources and expertise to develop a comprehensive sustainability strategy, and more so to help them to keep up with the requirements. It can be regulatory requirements, it can be customers' requirements, and then to gain market access and to uphold the stakeholders' expectation. At the end of the day, we want them to be able to become more competitive and, of course, to be more sustainable. Now, what do we want to help the SMEs to achieve? Basically, these are the three key objectives. Based on all the challenges that we hear earlier, we want to future-proof the business, help them to meet regulatory and customer requirements. More importantly, for a business owner, to help them meet triple bottom line in terms of the economic aspect, people, as well as the planet. I'm quite confident that this CSO as a service program, if being implemented, is actually able to help companies generate more profits or improve on their profits. And last but not least, to help in the longer horizon for the SMEs to foster on innovation, helping them to really think of how to build new green products and services that can help them to reach out to new markets and customers. Here's the journey that I would like to show. As we all know, sustainability is a journey, and you can see this like a racing track. So we are trying to help smoothen the track and make it simpler and more straightforward for the SMEs. So at the start of this journey, what we do and as what we are doing right now is to create more awareness to help SMEs understand what exactly is sustainability, and then to help equip their people with the environmental sustainability concepts. And that's then through the first step of awareness and training. Well, after equipping them with all this knowledge, what we will do as part of their CSO is to really mentor them and help them to establish their current gaps through our online sustainability toolkit. And at the same time, we will help them to capture the GHG emissions for their scope 1, 2, or even scope 3 using our tool from our strategic partner. Now, I'm quite confident to say here that, if you have done part 1 and part 2 here, we could have already have established the gaps, understood where you need to improve, and what are your current GHG emissions. That itself is helping you to future-proof your business. And at any one time, when your customers or the regulators ask for the data points, you already have that. And the way we are trying to do it here is to make it simpler for the SMEs to accept. Now, after you have done through the gap assessment, what we do here is that we also carry on this transfer of knowledge to the SMEs by helping them to focus on areas of sustainability improvements with the biggest financial and strategic impacts. And through this prioritization, that's where our appointed consultants will guide the companies in crafting out the carbonization strategies. And it says here that, look, you have come out with really a strategy to embark on what to improve on. And that's where we get the recognition from the Asia Pacific Green Alliance through their certification or recognition of the Green Excellence for Manufacturing mark for the manufacturers. Now, of course, after coming up with the roadmap, the next step is to really go into the show itself to do it, and it's on an implementation stage. There, we will actually leverage on our ecosystem partners to help SMEs to implement new practices, new procedures, new processes, or even new solutions to help them reduce their GHG emission or to improve on their whatever sustainability practices. And of course, once the implementation phase has been done, what we actually will challenge the SME is that, look, you are right now getting a bronze after coming up with a decarbonization roadmap. So why don't we challenge you to go further, a step further to, get an independent assessment, and then to see how far you can go to achieve a silver or a gold GEM or GEB mark. Now, this is the part where, when we really want to go for a silver or gold mark, then that's where we will assess, and you will be assessed by the independent assessors on your robustness of your system, as well as how much of the efforts have been put in to improve the performance of your company sustainability efforts. So these are quite tangible outcomes that you will see in time to come. How these things work right now is that, we have come up with the scope. We have called it the Green Excellence for Manufacturing scope. We have developed the checklist. We have a ready set of checklists that is already in the online system. We have a ready set of assessment reports that we can actually help to generate through the online system. And of course, we have a ready set of prioritization and roadmap templates that can help companies on that. So in a way, when we do this, it is in a scalable way and cost-effective way. And let me just share a bit about the scope here. So how this thing runs here is that, for the start, okay, we are actually getting the company to look into 3 key dimensions. And that is basically the talent readiness management, structure and management, as well as the operations management. We reckon that this is the start point to help SMEs to embark on the sustainability transformation. And on talent readiness and management, we're actually looking at, how competent is the leadership able to drive sustainability transformation. We are looking at how well-trained are the employees able to support the sustainability efforts for your organization. That let's move on then to the structure and management. On that note, we are looking at whether or not do you existingly have a strategy and a governance in place on sustainability. And of course, more importantly, you have to look at the policies and compliance, and that's where we will know whether are you now complying with your local regulations or your customers' regulation. And last but not least, then the stakeholders' engagement on how do you actually communicate your sustainability efforts to all the different stakeholders. It can be regulators, customers, banks, internal stakeholders, board of directors, etc. And the more important one and the heavy lifting will be done on the operations management. And that's where, we will look at the amount of carbon emission that you're emitting, the amount of energy that the organization is consuming, water, as well as how do you really manage your material? That's really resource management. And so with this, we will say that for a start, it will be the bedrock of our GM. Well, we are also considering in the future then to add on supply network management as well as then product lifecycle management. It will come in time to come when we have a more mature pool of the SMEs that have already embarked on the first phase. So in time to come, we will get into that. The other part here is that how do we operationalize all this assessment? It is done through an online tool which we have embarked on in terms of a strategic partnership with the with the A-Star in Singapore, and that's where we will get the SMEs to run through all the surveys, the assessment 1 to 5, and to generate what we call a meaningful report to see what are the gaps going to be. And then we have also established the assessment criteria to assess how mature in terms of your sustainability level you are. There will be like from initial level 0 to visionary level 5, and these are all the different assessment criteria that we have set forth, and it's also being supported by the Asia Pacific Green Alliance in terms of this scoring mechanism. After doing the gap assessment, this is how you'll see a radar chart with all the strengths and weaknesses, in terms of the different domains and dimensions. And of course, this is not the only chart that you'll see. You will come with a more detailed report, sharing with you based on your input, what are your gaps, and then based on your decision on what to prioritize on, what are the activities that you embark on, and then together we will come out with a final report with a roadmap on what are the specific sustainable improvements that you have committed on. So this is a glimpse of the generic template that we already have developed, helping you to know how to prioritize. And earlier I mentioned we are quite confident that if you have completed step 2, 3, 4, you probably will be able to generate improved profits. Why so? Because at the prioritization level, the SMEs usually will have to look closely into their cost profiles. What are your key growth drivers? And then they have to look closely into what are their strategic value creation and what do they plan to do in the longer horizon, or rather in the short term, mid-term, or long term. So with this input, then we will look at what are the ones that we should prioritize on with the biggest financial and strategic impacts. So let me now return back to the sharing on the advisory services, and I will speak a bit more about the Asia Pacific Green Alliance. Sorry. And as what Peter and Lennon had shared earlier, the Green Alliance was launched on the 19th of January, and with the ambition to really help SMEs to really embark on sustainability transformation across the Asia Pacific region. More importantly, to bring on the right level of skills and knowledge and know-how transfers to the SMEs to help them embark on the sustainability transformation. At the same time, while we already have a structured framework in place, we continue to look at what are the other areas that we can pull into this framework to help build this framework in a more robust one. And we work with all the TAC leaders across the region, as well as the knowledge partners, to continue to improve on that framework through the standards development team. One more important thing is that we also need to embark on capability development. And then that's where we will help SMEs or even the consulting partners in the region to become a certified GEM, Green Excellence for Manufacturing Assessor, or to become a Green Excellence for Manufacturing Consultant. And then that is where, with all these capabilities that we have developed in the market, we are able to then, download and use all these consultants and assessors to support the SMEs across the region. Last but not least, of course, with the Asia Pacific Green Alliance owning the GEM and GEB mark, that's where we need to ensure the quality of service. And then that's where actually, we will be keeping watch on the authorization of sustainability consultants and assessors across the region. Now, today, the Asia Pacific Green Alliance, which was launched on the 19th of January, is actually formed based off the founder members of Singapore Manufacturing Federation, Singapore Business Federation, the Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants, and then, of course, together with the Confederation of Asia Pacific Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And then we are also now bringing on board the China Council for Promotion of International Trade. So this federation or this Green Alliance is actually really a Asia Pacific wide alliance. So here I will show the TAC partners, Singapore Manufacturing Federation and CACCI as the founding members, together with CCPIT, the China Chamber of Commerce for import and export of machinery and electronic products, the Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants, as well as Singapore Business Federation. More importantly, we also have the Agency of Science, Technology and Research in Singapore to support us as knowledge partner, alongside, with brands like EY, as well as academics like Tsinghua University. So this is just the start point. There will be more knowledge partners, there will be more TAC's partners coming into the alliance to support the entire sustainability transformation efforts within the Asia Pacific region. So I've come to the end of my sharing for the CSO as Service, and as well as the Green Excellence for Manufacturing, as well as the Asia Pacific Green Alliance. Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, thank you, Clement, for a very comprehensive presentation. It really goes to a certain level of detail, which is helpful, I think, for people who are embarking on this journey, as you say. That step-by-step approach is very helpful, and it certainly was when I was first presented with it myself. And I think a lot of SMEs are really grappling with this issue across the globe at the moment, and I congratulate the Alliance on this initiative because I think it does provide a framework for us to go forward into the new economy. So there's a couple of questions, and there is an opportunity for questions and answers. So if anybody wishes to ask a question, could you please do so in the Q&A section? But the first question, Clement, you might have a go at this. Is the question is from an anonymous attendee, is the GEM framework shared aligned to the ISO 5001 standards for energy management? Are you able to answer that, or would you like to take it on notice?
Yeah, I'll take that, Peter. In short, yes, it is aligned with the ISO 50000 because within the framework, the GEM framework itself, we are considering the energy management efforts within the organization, how much of the energy is being consumed, whether or not they have targets in place, how do they measure, is there analysis for that, as well as activities that they are going to implement, which is a part of the ISO 50001 standard.
Great, thank you. Now, there's another question from Debbie Leong. And she says, I am Bond from InnoArc. Can we get a copy of the slide deck? Clement, can you answer that?
Sure, certainly. We will send a copy to Mick, and he can actually distribute to all the interested parties.
All right. Now, they're the only questions that are in the Q&A session at the moment. I'm interested, Lennon, just talking to you earlier, there was an article in the Straits Times today which pointed to the issue of profitability and otherwise if people don't embark on this particular initiative. Would you like to comment a little bit about that?
Sure. I'll attempt. Peter and Clement, please jump in to add in if I miss out anything. Well, I think the notion that if you embark on sustainability, you are bound to increase your costs, you are bound to be disadvantaged in terms from competition because you are spending more money, you're putting more efforts into this. Well, I guess you have to see it as in the, I think if you take 3 to 5 years as a window, then this picture will change. By January 2026, you will see the implementation of CBAM. CBAM is a European cross-border carbon adjustment system. So for companies supplying materials that are not which are not carbon neutral, you will be taxed. So never mind if you are in the different trade agreements about free trades and things like that. That doesn't work in Europe anymore by 2026 January. So you can find your products if you are not already carbon neutral, or you have not already paid carbon taxes, you'll be taxed by exporting into that market. Now, the second part is that I always like to use companies such as Apple as an example. Now, Apple is obviously one of the very, very forward sustainable company, if I can call them that, right? So they embark on a sustainability journey very early. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, by iPhone 13, you'll find that there is no more many things inside your box, right? For a start, you don't get any more charger. You don't get a lot of explanatory materials inside there anymore. So straight away, as Apple, you already, as the company supplying, you are already saving, right? Saving materials, saving components, just because that you are already on the journey. Now, companies such as Samsung and other companies following suit. So that's how I see sustainability journey. In my opinion, is really not a choice. It's a matter of when. It's a matter of when your supply chain will hit you, whether it's earlier or later. So I think my advice to all our members, and I hope CACCI members as well, that is always early. It's always better to be earlier in the journey. Clement, anything to add?
I think it is also a very timely note to say here that before this webinar, I actually received a message from Straits Times to say that the Schneider Electric are reporting that more firms that are aware that the lack of focus on sustainability really will hurt the bottom line. What it says here is that if you don't embark on sustainability, you may lose your business. And they are saying here that there's a report that 8 out of 10 are losing business because they can't meet the sustainability requirements of their customers. Thank you, Lennon.
Thank you, Clement. Thank you, Lennon. That's great. Now, I have a question from Ryan Dye asking Clement, thank you for sharing. Ryan here from Kesler. Given the fragmented market across the APAC region, there are different regulations from the different countries. My questions are, 1, do you foresee that there will be a joint regulatory requirement agreed upon among the different countries within this region, like what the EU is doing? And 2, other than the energy consumption focus, do we address any circular needs? Clement.
I take this question, Peter. Also quite timely that before the webinar, we spoke to a consultant who is actually watching the EU market, and they are sharing with us that at this moment, although that there are already regulations like the CSRD, CSDDD, etc., local regulations are still quite fragmented. It will take a bit of time for the EU countries to actually come together to come up with a harmonized approach. So to answer to Ryan's question, yes, I think it will take time for us to really come up with a harmonized approach. But we need to start now. And at least, for Singapore and what I know in the Asia Pacific region, there'll be carbon tax coming up. There'll be sustainability reporting that will be made mandatory starting from Singapore. It may come to Malaysia or even Indonesia or other parts of Southeast Asia in time to come to get the listed companies to be submitting the mandatory sustainability report. And so therefore, this program that we have, CSO as a service, is really to just help SMEs to start off with the journey. And we always say that it is actually the tip of the iceberg. There will be many more things to come, and which that the SMEs would have to confront in order to continue to keep up with the regulations and requirements. Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Clement. Now, if anybody's got any other questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A function. But before I do, I just wanted to, before you do, I just wanted to apologise to Darson Chu, who is the new Director General of CACCI, who is on the call tonight. And so I just wanted to welcome you, Darson, to the your first webinar since taking on the very important role of Director General of CACCI. So I'm sorry I overlooked that in my introductory remarks, but thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you've found it interesting. And also other staff from CACCI, you're very welcome, and thank you for joining us. Now, there is another question here. I'll just... right. Oh, Darson has thanked me. Thank you, Darson. So, look, are there any other questions that anybody has of our panel?
So, Peter,
Debbie,
perhaps...
there's one question, another one from
good.
Debbie Leon. Is the continual improvement in the step 6 of CSOAAS a yearly exercise? Clement.
Hi, Peter. Yep. It will be a continuous improvement on an annual basis. However, when you talk about the validity of this GEM, the Green Excellence for Manufacturing or Green Excellence for Business, the recognition is valid for 2 years. So the structure itself is built or introduced to the organization or SME for them to review it on an annual basis. But then validity is actually 2 years for the organization to keep up with the mark. I hope that addressed the question here.
Thanks for the question, Debbie. And Lennon, you were going to say something.
No, maybe I'll just, while waiting for more questions to come, I just like to prompt Clement, for example. Is the GM, GB global standard? You know, is it something recognized by Europe? So these are always a question. And if it's not, if it's on the way, why are we doing this initiative right now? And how do you see Asia Pacific Green Alliance can benefit trade associations such as us? And how do you envision it working?
Yep, Lennon, I think well, work is ongoing to discuss with the big organizations like MNCs here in Singapore, as well as the bigger ones like in US, to discuss how we can actually use this framework of Green Excellence for Manufacturing to recognize the sustainability efforts of their supply chain. So to me, it is unlike the ISO certification where it is publicly known as recognized having a management system. But to me, this mark itself is an attestation of you as the SME having embarked on the sustainability efforts with a bronze as a basic one, and then later on transition into a silver or gold that will meet the specific requirements of the customers, the regulators, as well as the industry. So when it comes to this attestation or recognition on silver and gold, then that is where we will level up the performance of the organization to meet the specific requirements, which in a way, I see it as a very, I see it as an agnostic approach to support different MNCs or different big boys on their specific requirements using this framework. So to me, the GEM is the start point, but we can add on a lot more of the specific requirements that can really be used to appraise the supply chain of the specific MNCs or listed companies.
Thanks, Clement. A couple more questions. One is from Risa Setsawan. Can I get the presentation, please? I think I know the answer to that, Clement.
Yep.
Yep, we'll organise for that to happen. The next question is from Debbie Leong, again, following up on her previous question. Can we do it on our own using a digital tool, or do we have to go back to Chief Sustainability Officer as a service? Clement.
I take the question here. Yeah, Peter. Okay. I think here what we are trying to do is within Singapore, we already have our own online tools that we can help. Basically make it as a starter pack for all interested partners or companies to embark on. So, for instance, if you are a SME in Malaysia or China or in Hong Kong, we will equip you with the relevant tools, the online tool as well as the carbon accounting tool. But again, what we are sharing here as a framework, it is actually solution agnostic. So it means here that the qualified consultant or the authorized consultant that is carrying out this or delivering out this work for an SME in a specific country, right, can use their own tool and their own carbon accounting software as well. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Clement. And a question from Sheikh Fazi Fahim, Vice President of CACCI from Bangladesh. Great to have you on the line tonight. Adaptation and complying to the framework, will companies have any global or regional acknowledgement for carbon trading benefits prospects? Is that something you can answer, Clement?
I may not be able to do so because, let me take a look. If the country adapts ESG framework with global compliance, how will you? I might not exactly know what is GAI at the moment.
Yeah. Well, perhaps we could take that question on notice because there's a couple of questions within that question. I think it might need to be breaking that down. So you might contact him separately to answer that question offline. Would you mind doing that?
So I think, Clement, the GAI is Green Alliance Initiative, which is your
okay.
APGA. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the question that Mr. Fahim has is really like how do we with our green and GBGM, how does it compare to global compliance?
Okay. If we look at the global reporting standards, be it the GRI or SASB or ISSB, which is according to the ESG framework, I would say that a large part of the CSO as service where we look into the leadership competencies, the employees training, your governance and strategy, your stakeholders communication, as well as the policies and compliance would have had at some level meet up to the global standards. What I have shared at the start is that we are focusing now only on the environmental parts, but we can then in the future add on the social as well as the governance part to make it a more comprehensive ESG reporting. Yeah. So in short, we would have certain level of fulfillment in terms of the environmental aspects based on the structure.
Peter, if I might just, Chairman, if I might just add in a few comments. I think the purpose of coming up with the Green Alliance, Asia Pacific Green Alliance initiative, is really about currently the European standards, or if you can term it the global standards. It's very difficult for SMEs to comply or to get certified. Simply because, example, they require you to have a lot of scope 3, which is really your external supply chain information. So if you were to buy a printer, for example, from a company like HP, and if you ask about their carbon footprint and things like that, I don't think you get the time of their day. So it is very challenging for SME to even try to embark to meet the global standard. Our Vice President, Lennon Tan, because of he embarked on some projects, some big European projects. So he got himself certified in EcoBuddy after a lot of effort and spending a lot of resources doing that. However, you find that after 1 year, 2 years, he's been downgraded to almost like a non-qualifying. So you can see that the standard moves very rapidly, and it is often very difficult for the SMEs to even keep pace with the changing ESG requirements based on those global standards. So what we're trying to do here is really to come up with standards that, in Asia, we have some commonalities. That we have a lot more SMEs compared to perhaps the Western countries. So we come out with this standard where we find that they are able to help themselves. For example, the very basic qualification require them to have for example, their ESG policy, require them to have to measure their current carbon footprint. So what is their current consumption, current footprint, and then have a plan to decarbonize, right? A 2-year plan to decarbonize, and then have their scope 1 and scope 2 information ready, and that is what we believe to be the first steps of the journey. And as what Clement has shown earlier on, so this is probably the first 4 steps, right? Subsequent steps, then you will see them improving, getting more scope 3 information, decarbonizing, and then really going towards the completion of that journey. It is it is cyclical, so you'll keep improving, and by that time they will be ready to comply to global standards. I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Lennon. A couple more final questions. We're going to have to wrap up soon. So, as a chamber, how can I work in this project? What steps do I need to take? Clement.
Yep. What we have here is that in the earlier sharing, we do have the certified consultant and assessor training that is basically run by SMF. And so any of our TAC or Chamber of Commerce partners who are keen to deliver this for their members may take on this training course first, which is basically a 5 days training. And once you have passed and qualified this, you can actually then use that skills and knowledge to deliver it as a service to your members or the SMEs in your local country. So we actually will be putting up the training course, the schedules of the training course up very soon in July, and we can also communicate this possibility to all our partners in CACCI. Yep.
Thanks, Clement. Now, the final question, I think, how can we become a qualified GEM consultant assessor?
Yeah, Peter, I think this one is actually quite the same as the earlier question. Yes, we will then need to get the consultant, the interested consultant or assessor to go through the certified training courses and then be authorized by the Asia Pacific Green Alliance before they can be authorized to deliver the service. Yeah.
So Clement, sorry, allow me to just jump in here.
Yeah.
So that is the assessor qualification that or courses that you can attend. But bearing in mind that the certification, for example, like your GEM, your GEB, Green Excellent Manufacturer, Green Excellent Business, this will have to be audited by your qualified auditors. Currently, EY, Ernst & Young, is one of the auditor that's been accredited. So it is not done by your self-assessment or something like that. It's done by a proper audit company. So whatever report they put up is substantial, and it is trusted. Thank you.
Thanks, Lennon. Yeah, that's right. So earlier on, when I showed the journey of step 1, 2, 3, 4 to 7, a certified or authorized consultant could actually then only deliver step 1 to 4, and then bringing in ecosystems to support in implementation of step 5. And when it comes to the independent assessment, yes, Lennon, you're right. We need to engage the likes of EY, TUSUD, or whatsoever to carry out an independent assessor for the organization to move towards the GAM Silver or Gold award. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I think we might, thanks, Clement. I think we might conclude there. And just in closing, I'd just like to thank Lennon and Clement for their very insightful presentation, and particularly you, Clement, with a very thorough step-by-step approach to how we can move forward with this. And I encourage all the members of CACCI and others joining this webinar tonight just to think about how this can benefit your chamber and your organisation as we navigate the future. So thank you both very much, and thank you all for attending. We'll wind it up there, and I'll hand it over to the managers. I think there's a little bit of music at the end, and have a good night. Thank you very much for being with us.